The town of Barnstable chooses to honor its war dead in many ways. To those men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice, Barnstable has dedicated memorials in the 7 villages. Channel 18 has chosen to highlight a number of the memorials in our town. Chester A. Coggeshall was born in 1920 in the village of Hyannis, attended Barnstable High School, and graduated from Barnstable High School with the class of 1938. While at the high school, he participated in football, baseball, track and field. There were 12 children in his family, and his last surviving sister still lives in Centerville. We invited Pauline Coggeshall Porca to join us for an interview and for some reflections about her brother. Pauline told us about the fact that Chester and his airplanes were mentioned in 2 books about World War II, and as was popular with pilots in the Second World War, he named his planes.
Both of them, the P-38 and the P-51.
Yeah. And you have another book over here on your lap?
Yeah, he's mentioned in this one too. This was the P-38. Kind of well used here. But see, where these 2 marks are, was a new commander and everything. And he was mentioned that he was one of the old ones. He hadn't finished his first tour yet on this.
All right.
Oh, and then in here he's mentioned. Here's the picture of the family on Pearl Harbor Day. It's not a picture of him, but it's a right. This is whatever they were doing, but there's no picture in here of him, which I thought was strange. And then here it is here where he was.
Pauline still has many items from the family service in World War II. In April 1944, Chester was awarded the Oak Leaf Cluster to the Air Medal, the Distinguished Flying Cross, and in May 1944, he was awarded another Oak Leaf Cluster.
I couldn't tell you where it is right at the moment because I have so much things that I'm going through from my homestead when I sold it. So it's there somewhere. I have their flags. I mean, when you have, well, I'm not counting the oldest one because he didn't even finish boot camp because he had a severe attack of ulcers. So they gave him medical right away. But I don't know, it's just when you have 6 people in the service all at once and coming home, there's a lot of things to go through. So, but it is there. And all his wings, my mother gave to my son.
Pauline talked to us about Chester's Memorial Stone, which is located across the street from Barnstable High School.
That's his stone.
That's his stone.
His memorial. I was there when they put it in. That was a different intersection at the time.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And that was done by a vote at town meeting, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because it was him and you know Birch's liquor store.
Donnie Birch?
Yeah, it was my brother Chet and his sister's husband were the first Cape ones killed.
Yeah.
Pauline also told us how Chester joined the Army. It was not unusual during World War II for boys to be drafted.
He was drafted.
And what
But
happened?
there, while he was in the Army, you know, went through boot camp and everything, he decided that he wanted to be a flyer because my other brother was a flyer. You'll see him. And he was in the Navy, and he was a flight instructor in Fitchburg, so he never went overseas. And he was hoping that when he got in Chester was hoping when he got in the Air Force that he'd be shipped up here and have his brother teach him. And but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
So he he took the things and got his wings down south.
In the war years, there was no such thing as cell phones or social media. Handwritten letters were the only means of communication.
We wrote letters to people that were in the service from Centerville when I was in elementary school. So I mean, like one person just up the street from my homestead, I wrote to her son, and then I forgot who wrote to. I don't remember who wrote to him. And my sister was in India in the China-Burma campaign, and she came home, but then was called back. So she retired from the service as a lieutenant colonel. And she was a flight nurse the second time, next to the last time. And, picking up the wounded and bringing them down there. And so then she, every time she got moved, she asked for Camp Edwards and never got it. So she was in Springfield at Westover. And she was assistant chief nurse there. So then, finally, because that was when her time was up flying, and
What was her name?
Marion. And so she trained at Newport Hospital. So I had cousins up there and everything.
Sure.
And my one brother that was in the Navy, he trained at Newport, but the other brother in the Navy, I can't remember what it's not in Massachusetts or not around here. The other Navy recruiting place. Well, anyway, so the only one that we didn't have anybody in service was the Marines. No Marine.
And so on April 16, 1945, Captain Chester A. Coggeshall of the village of Centerville was flying his aircraft, the Cape Cod Express, over the village of Sillersdorf, Germany, when he was shot down. He was slightly wounded and managed to land in Freilassing, where he was captured, put on a stretcher, and brought to the local dispensary for treatment. The burgermeister of the village, a man named August Kobus, saw what was happening and told those people bringing Captain Coggeshall in for treatment to stop. Corbus told those present that he had received orders from his superior in Berchtesgaden not to treat captured American soldiers or airmen. Corbus and two drivers, Karl Bohm and Rudiger von Massow, took Captain Coggeshall into nearby woods, and Corbus fired 2 shots, killing Coggeshall. The accused, Corbus, was eventually turned in to the United States Army officials by other villagers, brought to trial on November 13th and 14th, 1945, and was found guilty of the murder of the American servicemen from Centerville. He was sentenced to be shot to death by a firing squad. Bohm and von Massow were acquitted of all charges. Not long after the trial, a reviewing United States Army officer changed the penalty to death by hanging. That sentence was carried out. Eventually, United States Army Air Corps pilot Chester A. Coggeshall's remains were returned to the United States. He was buried in the military section of the Long Island Cemetery in Farmingdale, New York, Section J, grave 15558. At the 1947 town meeting in Barnstable, voters honored our hero by placing a memorial on West Main Street just across from Barnstable High School. And in 2010, he was posthumously inducted into the Barnstable High School Athletic Hall of Fame.